Hey guys, it's Sebastian from AskSebby, and today we are going to talk about how you might want to plan out your 5 credit card cap for American Express. So they do have a rule limiting you to 5 credit cards, but this does not affect charge cards, and also it does not affect everyone. So for me and for most people, we are limited to 5 credit cards for them, but for some people they can have up to 6, 7, 8, and that's not a problem. As a reminder, this does not affect charge cards, so if you have a green, gold, platinum, any other business or personal charge card, it does not come into play. Business credit cards do affect this though, so if you have 5 personal credit cards and then you try to add the SPG business card, that's not going to work out. The way to tell whether you are affected by this rule is if you have 5 credit cards already and you apply for the 6th one, what's going to happen is that they're not going to process the application immediately. They're going to send it to a secondary department, and then afterwards, in a few days typically, they're going to give you a phone call saying, hey, we don't mind approving this application, but you do need to close off one of your other credit cards in order to make it happen. So for me, that was one of the reasons why I closed my everyday card as well as my Delta Gold card, just because I wanted to make room for other credit cards. So it is something that is relatively constraining, so you want to make sure that you plan it out or play it correctly. With this, as well as pretty much everything that we talk about, there are going to be a lot of different ways to play it, so your mileage is going to vary. Pick the strategy that makes sense for you based off what you want to accomplish and based off your spending habits. The final thing too is that for most people, you're probably going to use a mixed strategy. So again, you're not necessarily going to pick one of these plans. You might kind of morph two together. Jumping into the first strategy, we have the keeper card play. So this is where you are going to get cards where you pay X dollars in annual fees, but where you're getting X plus Y dollars back. In most cases, and especially with American Express, these are going to be hotel cards just because by paying that annual fee, you get a free anniversary night that you can use at a lot of other properties where you are going to get more value than the annual fee. So for example, you're paying $95 for that card, you're getting that free anniversary night where you're getting $150 or $200 in value. So by paying that $95, you're kind of gaining an extra $100 in value because you're getting something that would otherwise cost you $200. If that's a bit confusing, I think the most simple way to explain it is, imagine if you were going to the mall and instead of it being free to go in, you had to pay $10, but by doing that, they gave you a $20 gift card for the mall that you could spend at any of the stores. If you were going to the mall to buy something anyways, then that works out because technically you're gaining an extra $10, assuming that the stores don't change their prices. If you're not buying anything or if you don't stay at these hotels, then obviously that doesn't make sense. The reason why this is valuable, especially if you do have a lot of cards, is because at a certain point, you only have so much spent. So you want to kind of put it in a way that makes sense. With a lot of other cards, you typically only get value based off how much money that you put into the spend. So yes, you might be getting 4 or 5, whatever percentage back, or might be getting some other perks back. But if you have to spend a lot of money to do it, then that's a bit harder. With these cards, for the most part, you're just using it for their perks, as well as that free nights. And then if they have any other travel credits, using it for just that. So for me, in my case, I'm typically only using the SPG card if I'm staying at one of these properties, and that's it. I'm not using it as a daily driver. I'm not using it for random expenses. With this setup, you're probably going to get the SPG business card and SPG personal card. Both have exactly pretty much the same thing in terms of the keeper card stuff. So you're paying that annual fee, getting that free nights. SPG luxury card also works pretty well here, $450 annual fee, but you get a $300 Marriott and SPG credit that you can use at any property, meaning that the effective annual fee is $150. The free night can be used at property that's one tier higher, so a bit better value there. For the last 2 slots, you're probably going to add the Hilton card as well as the Hilton Aspire card. The Hilton Aspire card is a keeper card, again, due to the free night, due to the travel credits and stuff. The Hilton card by itself, the base one, does not give you any other benefits, but it is kind of a good downgrade path, and there is a pretty solid sign-up bonus there, so it still makes sense. The Hilton Ascends card for most people doesn't really make sense to keep long-term other than to get that sign-up bonus. There might be some people who benefit from it, but I feel like most people who do are also going to benefit from the Aspire card, if not even more. One of the big disadvantages with this strategy is that you do have annual fees to pay, so if you're a college student, if you're not traveling that much, then I think this is something that's harder to justify. But if you are someone who's already working, if you do at least 1 trip a year, you're probably going to be able to use these free nights. If you can't use them during your big vacation, a lot of people tend to use these free nights for weekend trips as well. So if you're doing a road trip to get out of town, that works out pretty well. A good example of a place that you can use the free night from the SPG cards at is going to be the Courtyard Marriott or the Residence Inn across from Staples Center. These properties typically run about $200, sometimes even up to $400 for some reason. And again, you're getting value there, super convenient, and you're only paying $95 to get it every year. If you want to watch a review of that property, or if you want to kind of look at Staples Center and how you might use your Platinum card in order to do lounge seating in terms of the suites, that's something to look at as well. We have videos for that. To me, that's the basic keeper card strategy, but there technically is a more advanced one, and this one works out really well, especially if you are active duty, just because of MLA as well as SCRA, meaning that you're not paying any annual fees for American Express cards. The advanced strategy involves getting the SPG card, SPG Luxury card, Hilton, Hilton Aspire, Hilton Ascend, and then in year 2, upgrading the SPG card into a secondary SPG Luxury card, upgrading the Hilton as well as the Hilton Ascend card into 2 other Hilton Aspire cards. At the end of this, you would have 2 SPG Luxury cards as well as 3 Hilton Aspire cards. For a lot of people, again, that's a lot of annual fees, but it just depends on how much value you're getting and how often you're traveling. If you're active duty, this is a no-brainer just because you're getting a ton of free perks, but you're not paying those annual fees. So for me, I'm not active duty, but I still benefit enough because I typically travel at least once every 2 months or so doing trips. So I'm getting value from it, so why not do that? Because it saves me money on money that I need to spend anyways if I'm going on these trips. So the con is pretty obvious with the annual fees, but you should be coming out ahead. The big advantage of this play is that if you stop coming out ahead, if the recession happens, if you lose your job, if something crazy happens, you can downgrade all of these Hilton cards down to the basic no annual fee Hilton card. And for the SPG cards, you can downgrade them to 2 normal SPG cards. You will still have to pay annual fee for the SPG cards, but it's not too unreasonable to me compared to having 5 of these $450 cards. One of the other advantages with this play is that even if you didn't want to allocate your spend elsewhere, if you wanted to use it towards here, towards these cards, it still kind of makes sense just because there's a lot of high multipliers, and I feel like a lot of people still value SPG and Marriott points pretty highly. So yes, the SPG card might not be as good as it once was before, but the points are still pretty valuable, especially if you do want to do these redemptions at places like Bora Bora, these aspirational ones. If you're playing the spend game, you can also get 6x points back at US restaurants, supermarkets, as well as US gas stations for the Ascend card. The idea here of these cards is that there's a lot of flexibility. You can get value whether you want to spend on them or whether you don't want to. And again, I feel like it's pretty valuable given how I travel. Initially, I was going to cover a lot of the other strategies as well, but I'm probably going to do them as separate videos because this video is running pretty long already, but hopefully it was helpful. On that note, if you do like the stuff that we make, if you like this content, if it's been helpful, maybe it's been helping you travel to places that you otherwise wouldn't have gone, pretty easy way to support our channel would be to use the links on our sites or the links in the description box down below. And again, this is the strategy that I'm currently looking to run, so I'm a bit biased in terms of how I view it, but I know people are going to view it a bit differently, so I'd love to get your thoughts as well. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, it really helps us out, and if you know anyone else who benefit from what we just talked about, feel free to share this video with them, because it's probably going to help them out. But otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.